Well, welcome and good morning to The Point for today, the 12th day of the month of April. And it is a pleasure being here with you on a Tuesday morning as we've come to appreciate that this morning we'll be entertaining a representative from the National Democratic Congress. But before I get into I introduce him officially, I want to say thanks to our listeners on Classic 105.5 and 105.9, our viewers on GBN Television, Channel 7, Channel 11, and those of you that is on cable via Channel 20. We say good morning to you, and a special good morning to those of you that's joining us via the different social media platforms, be it Facebook or YouTube, and a special good morning to those of you that's on the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. We say thanks for taking from your busy schedule indeed, and we appreciate you spending your morning with us. I'm Joseph Cadore, and I say thanks for being part of today's conversation. And this morning, my guest is the NDC's candidate for St. George's Northeast, Ron Redhead. I want to say good morning to you, Ron. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning, Brother Cadore. Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Indeed, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. Normally, I feel the urge. In recent times, we've been saying rookies, newcomers, new kid on the block, fresh face, young blood. Well, young blood, yes. But in your case, again, I want to say congratulations on your candidacy for the Northeast. But you're not by any stretch of the imagination a new kid on the block. Or should I say that you are?
Well, it's relative. It's in terms of this capacity, yes. And in terms of being involved with the Congress, no, not so much. So it has been an experience that has been somewhat interesting. At the same time, it's something that I am used to, and I'm ready for the task ahead.
Well, as you've intimated, we're very much aware that you have been around the yard for some time in various capacities, but now you're the candidate for St. George's Northeast. Why, though?
Yeah.
Why the need to get your hand inside of the cookie jar now?
Yeah. Well, service is always something that anyone who is involved in politics should always aspire to achieve. I think we have a situation in the country where we are lacking leadership in many aspects. And I'm not just talking about leadership of a maximum leader level, but leadership to serve. And service is something that we should not put on the back burner, especially at a time like now. COVID-19 has indeed taught us a very critical lesson in terms of how we handle our society and how we lead our people, how we guide and work with our people. So I believe that now is an opportune time. And given the construct where we are at now and the requirement for some genuine changes, I'm not just talking about party changes in terms of the politics, but genuine developmental changes. I believe that young generation has a golden opportunity to really implement some of those changes that have not been made for a very long time in our society. And the opportunity not just to be a part of that change, but to lead it. And in this regard, running general elections, lead a political organization, be a PRO, a general secretary of a political party. That sort of leadership, certainly young people must lead that process right now.
We keep hearing the terms being bandied about leadership, service, change. Even before we get into all of that, though, the question foremost out of my lips is to ask you, why, of all those things of which you speak, leadership that's lacking, service, the need for service, a change, a new wind of change, and then one may ask, fine, but why Ron Redhead as a candidate for that change? Why you?
And I can speak specific to St. George Northeast. Now, my vision is to transform St. George Northeast. And transform St. George Northeast does not only revolve around the aspect of facing concrete drains and roads here and there. That is good. That will be continued under my leadership. However, when we talk about developing, my plan, for example, is to introduce the concept of local government to people of St. George Northeast. Northeast is an extremely large constituency. And in order to serve all the people, you don't need to play Superman. and go throughout communities and make promises and use government resources to do things. What you need to do is to be able to transform the opportunity so that the people in Willis, the people in Vendom, the people in Bolio, Boca, can have an opportunity to make decisions on their behalf, be involved in the democratic process, and participate in the governance of their community, and add to the wider goal and vision of the constituency, so that it's not a one-man show or a one-party show, which helps to introduce this whole concept of victimization politically and discrimination, but a genuine process to transform things in the community. So St. George Northeast is my area, and I see that as critical. In terms of improving healthcare, you don't need necessarily party platforms to stand on. People can see that we need to upgrade health centers, for example. People can see that we need to enhance the agricultural opportunities in St. George Northeast. It's a hybrid constituency in the sense that it's modern, but at the same time, you can see evidence of the agricultural field. It has vast land, space, etc. So getting the technical people to be involved there, working with the people who are living there, the residents, is not going to be part of my plan. So I want to introduce that concept, local government, getting people to participate in the process. You have an engineer in a community, there's a problem to be solved, that engineer can provide the assistance and can even be employed to solve that problem.
Looking at Northeast, and you talk about the capabilities, is agricultural space, and Willis is rich with culture and everything. Why do you think, and I know you speak of the leadership aspects of it, well, when you look at your constituency, what do you see besides the issue of healthcare, which is generic, the concern of agriculture, that's generic? What are some of the specifics outside of local government that you as the candidate, Ron Redhead, wishes to offer the Northeast constituents, and by extension, Grenada?
Right, and by extension, Grenada, the youth. I really want to show the young people that there are different ways in which we can all achieve the Grenadian dream. I believe that every young man, every young woman has a goal to own a piece of land, start their family, whether it's at a young age or not, or otherwise, but start their family and to be able to provide for that family. We are tired with the question of unemployment being tackled in a piecemeal way. We are tired with the question of development around the youth only being resorted to programs. We need things to enhance our capacity, yes, but when we get that enhancement, we do not want to be servants to political parties and organizations. We want to use that enhancement, of course, to help ourselves, help our families, and most importantly, transform the society. So it is critical that we look at the aspect of youth development in St. George Northeast, not just on the basis of joining the political organization, but how can the young people earn an honest living, those who are unemployable, those who are unemployed, and those who are underemployed? How can we upgrade that situation to make them earn and become an active participant in the development of the country without this noose around our necks to say that we must vote this particular line, we must do this particular thing only when election comes? You know, development is an ongoing process, and what I will bring different to the constituents of St. George Northeast is to get the young people actively participating in development. Change the whole concept that communities are different than they were years ago. We can bring back the community spirit. We can reignite that passion to which we had, and the genuine sense of service. That's what I spoke about earlier on. So that is something that is going to be different. I'm not going to just try to go about using monies to bribe people. I want to honestly show people that there is a different way. Grenada has the capacity to help solve our problems, and you need to come on board and join in that effort.
You speak of the issue of unemployment, and ultimately unemployment would have to be addressed when you look at issues of what's happening at the micro level and the macro level of the economy. What are some of the specifics, though, if elected, and you're the candidate? What are some of the specific plans you have in mind that would serve as a catalyst to jumpstart the community?
Right. Well, we need to invest more in, well, outside of the traditional sectors. There's tourism, there's construction. We understand those sectors do provide employment for young people and others in society, and we're not going to take that away. But for example, ICT, culture and the arts, investing in non-traditional sectors that we can create new sectors to help expand job opportunities is going to be critical. So for example, St. George Northeast will liaise very much closely with the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Finance, to help put things in place. Should I be elected? To help put things in place to really transform the community. The Ministry of Education as well, because education plays a very critical role in taking our people out of poverty. And that is something that we have to invest in, not just, again, on a partisan level, but we must know, for example, the vast majority of unemployed young people in Willis, they are unemployed as a result of XYZ, and training in a specific area will guarantee them a job. So ICT, that's another sector that we can invest in and help create jobs. During COVID-19, we saw the great role that information communication technology played in terms of engaging, interacting with people, keeping that whole spirit of interaction alive. And it's something that I believe we must invest in a big way, so that more young people who have creative ideas can get the necessary funding they need and start businesses and contribute to the whole development of society. Building apps, things like that. So getting us, in a sense, actively participating in things. I will introduce that. I am working extremely hard with some technical people. They give me good advice. And should I be elected, I guarantee that we are going to hit the ground running when that is concerned. We do have a plan in terms of really tackling youth unemployment. We need to reintroduce the whole idea of the student and the youth council in this country, because we have to get young people independently charting their course forward and stop interfering as politicians to try to direct them where they need to focus. Chances are, as politicians, we would want young people to be involved in particular instances and events, but that may not necessarily help solve the challenges that the young people face. So getting the young people to be the driving force for change for our situation is going to be a critical part. So the youth and student councils, get the schools actively participating so that at a tender age, they know and understand their civic duty, and get the youth council actively participating so that you have independent youth organizations engaging on different things. Child sexual abuse, for example. The central government alone must not have that responsibility to tackle that. It takes the community to raise a child. So if it takes the community to raise a child, it also should take the community to save that child. So independent youth organizations forming under my leadership as Member of Parliament will be a critical thing that I will pursue and encourage.
Let's get to the question of leadership. I was speaking with a member of your organization some 2 weeks ago, and she was saying that we're in a period that is void. Well, there's some leadership quality that existed in prior years, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. And he seemed to be of the opinion that that period has long gone, of a period of time where politicians were serious and their commitment was to that of people. And many seem to think that that ship has long sailed. And we're in a period, gimme, quick fix, you give me, you vote for me, I'm going to get in full my pocket, and the cycle continues.
Yeah. Well, my response to that is I don't necessarily agree with that position. I think, in truth and in fact, it's not being practiced now, and we can all agree on that, because generally politicians secure their interests and only look at the aspects of how they use people to get into office and then ignore them after. But I believe a large part of that problem has been the lack thereof of educating and training the younger generation to continue on what was done before in terms of service to country. And it will start some way, And what we are proposing in the National Democratic Congress is not just replacing the existing leadership deficit or filling that void, but replacing it with service leadership, people who are committed to community, people who are going to focus on the development of people and ignore the whole aspects of bribery and temptations to steal, temptations to engage in wrong practices, the question of public corruption. How do we stamp that out so that we can get the necessary resources to build and to invest in our community? That is going to be tackled as well under National Democratic Congress's leadership. So I don't really agree that it has long gone. I think, just as with everything, you need to service it, you need to maintain it. There is no school to train people to be a prime minister, but generally, if it is that society, we have to spend that training and ongoing activity. I believe ultimately we rekindle that which we had once.
Some have argued that there's a growing contempt for politicians across the board because of the mistrust, the disservice, the deceit that have plagued our political landscape for years. And they see another face and they say, well, you know what? He's going to turn out just to be the same thing. You know what? And some people have opted in more recent times to buy into the school of thought that suggests, I know what I have. I don't know what I'm getting. So I might as well stick with the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah. Well, that is always unfortunate, but it's quite understood on my part. What I would say to answer that last part that you mentioned, you know what you have. Now, I have served in the Senate for 2 years, and the people can see and understand my contribution as someone who was a newcomer, who had no prior parliamentary experience, but ensured that he took on the task and did the best that he could. In addition to the support I got from my comrade sister, Karine J., who is now the caretaker for the NDC. When we entered there were temptations, there were opportunities to do things, to derail, to turn back on our organization, and we did not do so. I think people are not able to accept the fact, because of the whole question of the norm or the practice that is now kind of in place, that people believe all politicians are crooks and corrupted. But that is not necessarily so. And whenever we have someone who is making the attempt to change the situation, you are going to get pushback. You are going to get people saying, he's just talking, she just talking. They will ultimately fall victim to societies and the weaknesses that exist in the system. But the truth is, change starts somewhere, and that journey may be long or may seem long, but I believe we can get there. Like I said, my contribution in the Senate dealt with issues that people face. And should I be elected as member of parliament, I will continue along that path in terms of being involved in the struggle against injustices for public officers. Take, for example, my involvement in the Monge mental home issue. I personally went to the Prime Minister's office, and I personally went to see the Minister of Labour to intervene in this matter regarding Nurse Patty Williams, a great Grenadian woman who was unfairly treated. I have personally been involved in this struggle, myself and Earl Maitland, and I must commend Earl for the activism that he do consistently. I have also been involved in issues such as Nawasa, in terms of fighting for better quality of water for people. Whatever the outcome was, we know now for a fact that all the issues that were raised, they were tackled, the pipes were changed, and people are now enjoying cleaner and safer water. I think that is the kind of message that we must continue to send as young people, that we can go there and do things. I could have been consumed with purchasing a vehicle, I could have been consumed with purchasing other things, but as an individual, knowing where I came from and seeing that there seemed to be people needed, I really got involved in frontline politics in the Senate and really tried to make a difference in my own little corner as an opposition representative. And I did a good job.
Do you get a sense that Grenada has been given a raw deal on politically in terms of where we were, where we are now, and in the context of the potential that we have for greatness as a country, do you get the sense that we've been given a raw deal and for maybe politicians have taken the people for granted?
Yes, somewhat. I think coming out of the era of Prime Minister Gary and also Comrade Leader Bishop, you had a climax in terms of what politics meant to the Grenadian people. After the demise of the revolution, there was now almost a U-turn to the system that was trying to be built. And then you had, in a sense, now people wanting to stay very clear from that sort of left-leaning or left-wing type of politics because of the location in the hemisphere and the geopolitical situation. People did not want to have anything to do with that. So in terms of what were some of the good aspects of the revolution, it was almost immediately rejected as we went into a transitionary period coming out of the revolution. As I said, it climaxed with the revolution, and it ended, unfortunately, in a demise. And the people who came after were not really totally committed. Some tried, and I will be biased here. I believe that the National Democratic Congress does not get enough credit as a government for the amount of things that they have done to help better improve the community. And because in the past, people may have seen us not as this, lively political organization. They always take advantage to say that we did nothing. But the record certainly will show that we have done very important transformative things to our country that will lead us back to that level. Again, the individual politicians, we need to upgrade them. And that is where we come in now. Younger generation of the National Democratic Congress see things differently, but we also saw the mistakes that were made in the past. And we are looking to correct those things. So I believe we can get back to the point to which politicians were genuinely concerned about people, actively involved in struggles, actively participating in development, and genuinely and honestly reporting to people in terms of the state of our country. I believe we can get back to that point.
You believe that we can get back to that point in time? 25 minutes gone past in the morning time. My guest, Ron Redhead, candidate for St. George Northeast, representing the National Democratic Congress. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right here on To The Point.
Are you a small business and would like your business to grow? Do you have an event, products, or services that people should know about? Be wise. Advertise. Book your spot on GBN Shopping Guide. Be part of Grenada's biggest advertising medium, the Grenada Broadcasting Network. Call our sales department now on 440-2446 or 440-3033 or GBN plus the number sign. Email us at sales@gbn.gd. Special conditions apply.
Join GBN on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. for Interesting Grenadians, a program that showcases the lives of interesting and outstanding Grenadians at home and abroad. It's Interesting Grenadians every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on GBN. Don't you miss it.
Get ready for a season of grooving smooth and live on GBN. Grooving Smooth and Live is a 1-hour performance gig every Thursday from 8 p.m. featuring performances from our local musicians and short interviews discussing all things musical. Every Thursday, a different musician and a different instrument will be featured, from the violin to the saxophone to the trumpet, guitar, and steel pan. Our local musicians playing, improvising, and educating us on all genres of music. Join GBN with host musicians Matthias and Shireen and a special guest every Thursday at 8 p.m. It's Grooving Smooth and Live on GBN.
welcome back to the program. 27 minutes gone past the hour. We're going to open up the telephone lines in just a bit to entertain your calls. 435-2041. But before we do that again, for those of you just joining us, my guest this morning is NDC's candidate for St. George Northeast constituency, Ron Redhead. Before we continue, I just want to share some clarity. I'm not sure if sometimes individuals, they make comments, whether it's genuine or otherwise. I'm not here to determine that. So as the individual that is asking, why is that GBN always go for NDC supporters? When last you've seen an NNP MP on GBN? And they say nonsense. I'm not sure that is a legitimate question to you on social media. And I'm almost getting the sense that it is put there for malicious intent. Allow me to say, this is not as part of the staple on to the point. I think this is well established that the government, the incumbent, the ruling administration has a fixed place every Wednesday on this program. So too does the NDC. So as to suggest that GBN has an agenda in who we invite, I'm not even sure why anyone would even venture to go there. But I just thought I mentioned because sometimes, people they really go along the wrong route for the wrong reasons. I dare say the NDC has a place here on the GBN every Tuesday, government every Wednesday, and it has been like this for quite a while. It's interesting. Anyway, let's not. Sometimes maybe we pay too much attention to nonsensical matters. I'm going to go to the telephone line though. Thank you, Ron. Have a caller that is on the line. Good morning, caller. Hello. Yes, good morning, caller. You are alive.
Hello?
Yes, caller. Good morning. You are alive.
Nobody there?
Caller, I am here. You are alive.
Nobody there.
Hello. 435-2041. I'm here and she's telling me that I cannot be there. Let me just throw a question at you that's coming via social media. And certainly, I want to take the opportunity to say good morning to all our contributors on the social media platform. A question has been asked, Ron, as it relates to measuring the impact. How do you measure the impact of projects within a community? This country is saying that communities within your constituency, and I'm assuming she's been specific, have been beneficiaries of several projects. One of the questions that being asked and asking now, how do you measure the impact of these initiatives? And that is critical, if you ask me.
Yeah. Right. And this is why we need to organize the constituency involvement, because I'll tell you this, I have a little issue, or I take issue with the manner in which projects, which are titled special projects, are done in communities. Now, this whole rush just to put the concrete here and put it as somebody called and ask for it and so on, without proper preparation, without properly investigating whether or not this will add, this will subtract, is critical. Take, for example, Lamode playing field. There used to be a playing field in Lamode. Right now, it's in a mess. Every time the constituents raise the issue of resolving it, they dig it, they cause further problems, and it's not being rectified. If it is these projects have a serious person behind them, from the community, the professionals that are required to be involved, the technical people, and they look at all of the options, they look at the situation and apply the knowledge to be able to solve the problem, I think you're going to get something a bit more meaningful. And the impact of such a project will help to enhance the opportunities for young people to play more sports, and we could think about the possibility of more Pirani Jameses, among others. The point is, you cannot just rely upon this kind of do a project for good mentality, where you're rushing to do a set of things all over the place and you're just boasting about it, and it's not being carefully thought out. In the long run, I think that is going to end up in some problems, whether it is that we're going to run out of critical funds that we need, or the projects that are being done in some instances may either further add problems to areas that they take, for example, flooding. So we always have to be careful when we do things. We look at the environmental impact, especially concrete projects in and around the community. Again, as I said earlier, things that are working, we are going to continue them, but we need to enhance the way in which we deliver these projects to people. And I believe the communities must play an integral role. So, for example, in a community, they may want a garbage bin area to post garbage, etc., and not necessarily looking for a bus stop or a bus shed. So you have to always sit and plan these things, but the people must be involved in making that decision so that it serves the community. And to answer the question, the impact is wider felt.
That allows me to segue into the question. Next question has been asked via social media as to whether the person is asking whether or not you would consult your constituents before voting on any bill that would become law.
Right. So let me answer it in this way. And to be very honest, it has not been a deep practice by members of parliament, even in the Caribbean, throughout the Caribbean, to properly consult. I think we need to look at a way in which we can do that. And one such way that I am proposing is the concept of local government, similar to Karakou Pitimatni, to which they would like to not just take charge of their affairs, but be involved in things. I believe if you have that platform and system throughout, all constituencies should strive for something like that. You are going to get the member of parliament to account, because presently, nothing says that before member of parliament Ron Redhead votes on a particular bill, he must go and consult. Nothing holds the member of parliament accountable. So they essentially have a free hand. When they get the notice to appear in the parliament, of course, the party may consult, etc., on different things, but the wider community is not involved. So an aspect of local government will help to fill that void, so that if I get a bill in the morning which says we are going to legalize marijuana, my engagement with the people is going to be a must, because we have the Vendom Development Committee, which is recognized under the Local Government Act. We have the Willis Development Committee, which is recognized under the Local Government Act. So the member of parliament must now either go and present or make the bill itself available for people to start conversations around it. That is the kind of thing we must kind of approach. In other words, make the parliament not just the walls that surround the parliamentarians, but make the parliament indeed the people's place and have the people involved in the decision making.
I have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Mr. Cadore, good morning, and good morning to Mr. Redhead. I am calling from the Northeast, and we are so proud to have Mr. Redhead as our representative. And I would like to tell him we would work with him, for him, and alongside with him. You have our support in the Northeast, and you have my 100 support. Take good care and have a God bless day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much, caller. 25 minutes on to the hour. The number on the inside, 435-2041. The Integrity in Public Life Act, Ron, as it is enshrined, it is there. We hear talks about bribery, and you made mention of it. And the question's being asked, why is it that our public officials, if the act is there, why isn't it that much effort is made and to ensure that public officials, they held accountable for their actions?
Because in my view, this is almost just part of the process, but it's still really incomplete. Take, for example, the question of freedom of information. Now, one of the problems that I have discovered in being involved in the Senate is that information that is supposed to be public knowledge, not for people to take it and make political football and so on out of it, but public knowledge, so that when it comes down to finding solutions, we can actually find solutions because we have the information. That is not made available. You're right, you can't get it. Even in the Senate, for example, I know personally of the woes there. When you ask questions in the Senate and you write for it, you have to go through this long tradition. And in most cases, you don't get a response. So I think that whole issue of holding people accountable has to do with the right, in my view also, to recall a parliamentarian, the right to, in a sense, dictate the pace as to what goes on. So take, for example, a statutory board. When that person is appointed as a chairperson, they almost have a free hand leading up to the appointment. During my tenure in the Senate, I was really trying to push for us to be able to say, as parliamentarians, or at least critique the person who is being proposed by a minister of government to be the chairperson of a statutory board, for example, marketing board. My vision was that what should happen is that Mr. Smith, whoever it is, should be called to the parliament and they should be engaged in a direct question and answer from parliamentarians, in the sense that if my constituents have concern with Mr. Smith, they will be able to pass that on to me. And as their representative, I will be able to question Mr. Smith in that regard, whether or not he is genuine to serve the interests, let's say, for example, of marketing board, NAWASA, etc. So things like that, because in the society today, nobody holds politicians accountable. I'll give you another example. When the issue regarding Mr. Scott came up with the cell phone bills and digital, this was almost treated very vulnerable at the level of the authority. And I'll tell you why. There is supposed to be an internal investigation which should have commenced immediately. No publication was made whether or not this occurred. I met with the CID, I met with the Commissioner's Office, and I met with the DPP, immediately having received the information about this issue. And the general sentiment was that it's a hot potato, nobody wants to touch that. It means, therefore, the system as it is not working, and nobody should be above the law. Politicians, parliamentarians, nobody should be above the law. We have to set the standard so that when the people at the lower level, if a gentleman steals coconut, the same measure of applying the law must occur. White-collar criminals are engaged in embezzlement, and the white-collar criminals are engaged in robbing the state. The whole question of public corruption. Yes, but I think we need to do more.
I have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, Joseph. Thank you for taking my call, and thank you, Mr. Ron Redhead. It is indeed a pleasure for me to see you on my TV. I'm elated. I want to say congratulations on your nomination as caretaker candidate for the St. George's Northeast seat. You've been there. You've done that. I distinctly remember when the NDC was given the opportunity to represent in the Senate, and they selected you and Sister Karen, how a lot of people were saying that, this is child play and they're too young. But you rose to the occasion. You've delivered and you've grown, and you represent us in so many ways. I believe now they can consider you to be a man in the Senate. You're no longer there, but with your hard work, dedication, attitude towards work, sticking to it, being with the youths, the older folks, and you're just a love. That big broad smile, I know you would make it, and by the grace of God, always remember to put God first, and with St. Andrews behind you, you're gonna make it. God bless you. Have a blessed day, Ron.
Thank you very much, caller. 20 minutes on to the hour in the morning time. A contributor says, I want to get much to share your thoughts with me on this. They say change starts with people. Unless we accept that we are the ultimate authority, changing administration will not make a difference.
Yeah. And that is a correct comment. Now, let me say this. As an individual, I have no personal affinity to other individuals. What I see are causes to be solved. Problems in our society, and the people may have ideas and means, and we can solve and rectify our problems together. That is my vision. And when I talk about transformation, for example, we cannot discuss transformation and are prepared to support the same old structure that brought us to this level to which we are now calling for genuine changes to be made in our society. So, to me, the whole notion that someone may be young, someone may be inexperienced, someone may be relatively new to the political process is a defeatist mentality that we must reject. Because in life, many are called, few are chosen. And sometimes the person who might be chosen may not have come through a specific channel. However, when they get the opportunity, they do a very good job. Don't engage in judging books by the cover and believe that because somebody doesn't have the money or the connections that they can't make the changes that we need. I think we proved that the last time we were appointed to the Senate, and it shows that if we are committed, if we have the support of the people in particular, we are going to get the job done. And that is the type of level of representation that I honestly want to bring. I don't want to engage in old talk. People have engaged me to do certain things. I am an opposition candidate. Our resources compared to that of government is going to be vastly different, and there is only so much I can do. But I commit to serving you more than just going into office and having the government disposal. I will be a representative for all the people. I have good shoulders to lean on, and I have good shoes to fill. That of George Brizan, that of Nazim Burke, Mr. Burke, and that of others who have served the National Democratic Congress in many capacities, in particular for and on behalf of St. George Northeast. So I am committed, I am ready, I am prepared.
I have a call. Good morning. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to Mr. Redhead. Mr. Redhead, I have not heard all of what you said, actually, in a bit of me. But I have heard you before, and I want to say to you, sir, congratulations on your efforts to see if we could make a change in this nation. But I want to also let you know that without God, without depending on God, without seeking the face of God for His will, a lot of politicians behave as though the earth is theirs, as though the world is theirs, as though the people are theirs. And so they do what they want, they treat us as they want. But if you seek the face of God, remember you are the servant of God. If you read Romans 1, it tells you about those who are in authority. We should pray for them because they are servants. They are servants of God. And I would like you to keep to know that you're not a servant of yourself, but and the people, but of God. God is the one who gives you the breath you're breathing. So serve God first. And when you serve God first, you will serve His people the way He wants you to. Because the way Grenada is going, we're not going the way of God. We're going the way of the other man. And we need to turn back that. We need to go on our knees and ask God to save this nation. Because where Grenada has been taken, normal human beings can bring it back. It's only God to do that. So, and how God will do it? By prayer and fasting, repentance before God, asking God to cleanse our hearts, our minds. And so when we pray, God will hear and answer. Because the word of God says, if I regard iniquity in my heart, that means we are sinners. We sin. So when we are approaching God, we must ask Him to forgive us our sins and then ask Him to deliver us and then give us His will for our nation. God wants to save Grenada because Grenada is gone down a tube that God alone could pull it out of. So have a blessed day, sir. God bless you and hold on to God.
Thank you, caller. All the best to you. 435-2041, that's the number to get in on the inside. Ron, there's so many issues that has to be dealt with. I for one, I'm of the school of thought that nothing happens unless my standard of living improves. I know politicians have a way of gauging growth in the economy and progress. But for me, I think ultimately it should redound to, I was here today, tomorrow I've moved 2 treaders up. This is where I was in 1990. I look at where am I in 2022 and I've noticed, okay, I was saving $5, now I have $15. I'm able to do this, I'm able to do that. I'm able to... With the current construct, with what's happening in the economy, that almost seems like a fairy tale story where you see projects, you see things, But the standard of living, cost of living, continues to spiral out of control and is like a noose around the neck of Grenadians.
And you're totally correct. Now, you see, the challenge, I believe, is that meeting GDP figures and having good numbers on the budget is only one aspect of development. Because you can have growth in the economy. You can see and register positive growth in the economy. But if the lives and the standard of living of the people are not better off, that is called pseudo-improvement, essentially false improvement. So improvement in the figures, they occur because you're now able to meet expenses, you have increased taxes, etc. You're collecting more, maybe property tax, etc. You're collecting more at the port, etc. So you have revenue. You're able to spend revenues now in aspects like construction, because when you expand in the construction sector, you see an automatic improvement in the GDP, or it adds to the numbers, because you are spending on the capital side. That's how you expand the numbers on the GDP, in the GDP. But when you look at the livelihoods of people, are they any better off? You see an increase in the seed program. You see an increase in poverty. And political leader Deacon Mitchell mentioned that in our rally on Sunday, where the World Bank figures showed before COVID-19 increases in poverty, and he certainly will estimate post-COVID-19, we have an automatic increase there above. So while we are seeing growth in the economy, the lives and livelihoods of people are not better off. And it's closely related to this new strategy that has been employed, the dependency syndrome, where people are not being counted as unemployed because they're getting assistance from seed, their children may be in the money, etc., but they are actually living under the poverty line, or at least around that area. So you're not improving people's quality of life, you're not giving them a handout, you're giving them a handout and keeping them poor. And that is a dangerous trend.
I have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning to you, Joe.
Good morning, sir.
And to your followers, good morning to your guest, Mr. Redhead. Let me congratulate you, sir. You have fought a long fight, and I congratulate you on where you are today. But this morning, unfortunately, to disappoint you, I won't be speaking to you directly or about you. Joe, I have a major concern, a broader concern, and it's about the GBN. The position you are in, and every other announcer or broadcaster, is to moderate issues, to be fair, to be unbiased, to be an impartial arbiter in matters of the state, to develop our country. And I have a very serious concern with the earlier segment of your program. There are two men there who have made it very clear that they don't understand the meaning of professionalism. Professionalism means being unbiased, standing there with no one knowing exactly where you stand, but you deal with every issue in an objective way. These two gentlemen, I call them gentlemen, have made it very clear where they stand. They have been very unbiased. They don't seem to understand the meaning of the word professionalism. They are impartial. They make fun out of things pertaining to the opposition from Facebook and everywhere else, and they seem to be nothing but a mouthpiece for the Prime Minister and his government. Everybody has a right to choose a party to support, but I cannot say you who you support, Joe, because you're a professional. I cannot say who Blossom supports, and many other persons, but these men, I don't know where they came from, but they don't fit that bill. And as we go up toward the election campaign, either these men are moved from that program, or they are debarred from discussing or talking about anything political. It is not going to help. When you have a party that has about $1 million to every dollar that the opposition has to spend on propaganda or whatever it is, and you have people in official media who have made it a abundantly clear that they are there to support and be mouthpiece for that party and destroy the others, belittle them. It's not helping in our country. And the sad thing is, during that segment, we have sections where kids are being encouraged to participate. Dangerous. So please, I'm sending this out to GBN. Either these men are moved or they're given a strict warning. Keep out of anything political because you've made it clear that you have no interest in being unbiased and subjective.
That,
thank you very much. I hope I've made my point.
Thank you very much, sir. 8 minutes on to the hour in the morning time. It's the sound of Classic 105.5 and 105.9 on the FM band. And we want to say thanks to all of our contributors. We're running out of time, though, Ron, and time is always of the essence. So many issues. Agriculture, though, as we get ready to wrap, because we have to wrap in a few. I know I can only well appreciate that, and you keep hearing that agriculture being one of the pillars of growth and development. But very often I ask myself the question whether or not it is given lip service, or whether or not, and looking particularly at your constituency and history, right, and the culture of Willis, what would be your position on moving agriculture in your constituency and by extension across Grenada to the next level, where we can truly address the concern of eating healthy and eating local?
Right. My single answer would be that the state need to start helping farmers to guarantee markets. Because, look, I am not going to get into the question of subsistence farming as opposed to commercial farming, etc. That has its place, and we're going to discuss that. But what I honestly believe we need to do is to be able to guarantee markets for farmers. Just as the tourism sector, the hotels, for example, will have guarantees that cruise ship XYZ will come, plane flights XYZ will come. Farmers need some level of guarantee that they will get their 20 pounds of tomatoes, whatever it is, sold, and at this specific price, so that they can begin to engage now in planning long term and not just operating by where today's they get in $60, tomorrow they get 50, and then if they're lucky they could go down in the market and sell on Saturdays and Sundays, and they still have to go back during the week and farm. That sort of thing is causing confusion. It is weakening the agricultural sector, and it's not just about building farm roads and access, but I believe that what the farmers need in all of this is a guaranteed market for their produce so that they can grow and it can become sustainable. The whole question of feeding the nation, sustainability is critical. Anything you're involved in where you have to seek long term, you need to be able to guarantee this market for the farmers. So, I believe in St. George Northeast, for example, we have the GCNA building. If that old factory is restored, and it may not have to take much, I believe that we can do a lot in St. George Northeast, not just in canning or other aspects that it can provide, but in terms of guaranteeing farmers that their produce will be sold. So the farming and agricultural community can rest assured that myself as Member of Parliament and the National Democratic Congress will invest heavily and will ensure that we are able to guarantee markets. The whole question of cold storage, how do we take produce off the hands of the farmers and ourselves store it so that we can ship, so that we can use it in a tertiary level product, etc. That is the level of planning that we have to go to. We need to organize farming in every community, in every constituency, and I believe that the answer lies in guaranteed markets for hardworking farmers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Bigi Market.
Thank you, Ron. 4 minutes on to the hour. Unfortunately, this is as far as we can take the conversation for today. But certainly, as you can well appreciate, there's a home here for the NDC every Tuesday, as there is a home for the NNP every Wednesday. Just again to dispel that notion that, for whatever reason, somebody's opting to spread via social media. as it relates to any potential bias on the part of the GBN. Ron, it was a pleasure being here with you. Again, we say congratulations, all the best to you, on your candidacy, and where you go to from here, and your political aspirations. For all of you, all the listeners, our viewers, wherever you are, we say thanks for being part of the conversation. I want to encourage you later on in the day, I'll be back with you with our wonderful friends from Real Value. But as I encourage you every day to live life, love life, reminding you that you can become an agent of change, not necessarily by sitting quietly and idly doing nothing, but speaking your truth, speaking it quietly. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be aggressive about speaking your truth, but speak it quietly so that people can understand that which you're agitating and be part of a conversation of change. Until then, so long everybody. JC loves you. Have yourself a great day.